Merry Christmas in November, everyone. Soberoni of Jeanne Reviews here with a servant spotlight for the holiday event. This time we're going to be taking a look at the meanest headpat dodger in all of Chaldea, Jeanne d'Arc Altar Santa Lily. We'll be examining her stats and skills, as well as going over pointers on how to utilize her effectively, and an overall grade comparing her to how she stacks up to the other 4-star servants. Now, onto Jolter Lily's stats. Jolter Lily has a max HP of 11,870, which is low for a 4-star Lancer, but fairly above average when compared to the other 4-star servants. Her max attack of 9,261 is high for a 4-star Lancer, and when factoring in the 1.05 Lancer damage modifier, her effective attack becomes 9,724, which is also above average compared to the other 4-star servants. Taking a look at her skills, her first skill is Saint's Gift rank C. It greatly restores the HP of an ally between 1,000 and 3,000 depending on level, and it also increases their critical star drop rate for 3 turns by 30%. Her second skill is Self-Transformation rank A, which increases her NP gauge by 20%, and her debuff resist between 20 and 50% depending on level. And finally, her last skill is Ephemeral Dream rank EX. It increases her Buster Card effectiveness for 1 turn between 35 and 55% depending on level. It also applies invincibility for 1 turn and decreases her HP by 1200 as a demerit. Taking a look at her passives, she only has one, which is Magic Resistance rank A+, which increases her debuff resist by 21%. Moving on to her deck and Noble Phantasm, Jolter Lily has a Quick Buster deck with Quick, Arts Buster, and a Buster Noble Phantasm. Her Noble Phantasm, La Grace Filet Noël, deals heavy damage to all enemies with between a 300 and 500% damage modifier, depending on level. It also decreases the debuff resist of all enemies for 1 turn by 10%. In addition, it will also increase the attack of all allies for 1 turn between 10 and 30% depending on overcharge, and also increase the HP recovery amount of all allies for 1 turn between 20 and 60%, also depending on overcharge. Taking a closer look at her cards, we see that her Quick card hits 3 times, her Arts hits 3 times, her Buster hits once, and her extra attack hits 5 times. She has an NP gain rate of 0.72% and a star rate of 12.10%. This translates into slightly below average Noble Phantasm gain just due to her 1 Arts card, and just average star generating because of her 2 Quick cards. Aside from being the most adorable, huggable, head-paddable servant around, well, at least until next Christmas, Jolter Lily also sports very solid stats even for a Lancer. Both her attack and HP are decently high for a 4-star servant, making her very balanced, and her skill set does reflect this. Her first skill, Saint's Gift, is a pretty handy targetable 3000 HP heal that also boosts the crit drop rate of an ally. Being able to choose your healing target is always good, and it gives Jolter Lily a small bit of utility, especially if you're targeting someone like Jack or Fuma, who can really benefit from that star drop buff. But this skill also has a lot of synergy with Jolter Lily herself. It complements her decent HP by making her even more tanky, it benefits from her Noble Phantasm, and most importantly, it resolves the demerit on her third skill, Ephemeral Dream. Ephemeral Dream is Jolter Lily's only offensive skill, but it is a hell of a skill. It's a straight up better version of Adult Jolter's skill of the same name. In exchange for 1200 HP, you're going to get invincibility for a turn, and a 55% Buster buff. That's even better than Jolter's, which is just 50%. Overall, this is a much stronger version of Mana Burst that not only offers a bigger damage buff, but also defense in the form of invincibility so you can survive an enemy Noble Phantasm, making this a very versatile skill. Because of Jolter Lily's heal, the demerit on this skill is also absolutely laughable, as you can easily heal back the cost of the skill and then some. And finally, Jolter Lily also has a decent NP charge skill in Self-Reform. 20% NP charge is ideal for farming because it allows you to turn 1 Noble Phantasm if you have Kaleidoscope equipped. This also grants Jolter Lily 50% debuff resist for 3 turns, When combined with her passive, that's 71% debuff resist, which is more than Steno, Uriel, or Ishtar. Skill leveling priority should go to Ephemeral Dream first for the damage and cooldown reduction, followed by Saint's Gift for the better heal, and then finally Self-Reform because the Noble Phantasm charge does not scale with level, making it just as effective even at level 1. Jolter Lily's Noble Phantasm packs a ton of effects, but first and foremost it is an AoE buster, making it great for farming. Unfortunately, the secondary effects aren't as important because they're too minuscule. A 10% debuff resist decrease on enemies isn't going to be noticeable. The attack buff can be good if you're leading a Noble Phantasm chain, but it's still just a 10 or 15% attack buff for one turn, so it isn't much. Oddly enough, increasing the healing amount of all your allies is probably the most relevant secondary effect of her Noble Phantasm because it synergizes directly with her own heal. The idea being that you buff your Noble Phantasm with Ephemeral Dream at the cost of 1200 HP, then you're able to survive whatever the enemy can throw at you because you're invincible, and then you can heal it all back on the next turn with Saint's Gift. However, at 100% overcharge, that's only a 600 HP buff to your heal. Again, it's just not much. If you couldn't tell from the skill set and her Noble Phantasm, Jolter Lily is made for farming, and she excels in that role. There aren't a ton of farming Lancers, so she does have a strong niche, and because it's easy to Noble Phantasm 5 her, she can easily get the job done with her very strong Noble Phantasm. However, that's just about all that she can do. Despite the strong mana burst skill and being NP5, she still isn't much of a boss killer because of her AoE Noble Phantasm being too weak, so she's barely able to dent an enemy with hundreds of thousands of HP. Her Noble Phantasm gain is also subpar, meaning that she can't spam it out. She can be decently tanky because of her heal and invincibility, but she also lacks any real utility because she relies on her heal for herself, and the buffs on her Noble Phantasm just are not very strong. Outside of farming, Jolter Lily simply lacks the damage or the utility to be more viable than most of the other Lancers at her rarity. That isn't to say that she can't work though. As usual, team comp does play a critical role in maximizing a servant's usefulness, and in Jolter Lily's case you'll most definitely want to use her in a farming team that can maximize her Noble Phantasm charge and damage. But another fun option for her is to exploit her healing to use her in a team that can support a Black Grail build. But in either case, she's still going to need a defensive support, so let's go through some good ally picks for each style. For farming, I highly recommend pairing her with someone who can buff her damage, or someone who can provide her with better NP gain. Liz and Sanzo are fantastic examples of these. Liz is a fantastic buffer for Lily because of her 40% charisma buff for females on a short cooldown, as well as her defense down debuff. This effectively gives Jolter Lily a 40 to 60% buff. Charisma also stacks multiplicatively with Ephemeral Dream to make her even stronger. Sanzo is a great choice if you need to Noble Phantasm more than once. She can give Jolter Lily a strong NP gain buff to make up for her subpar Noble Phantasm gain, and Sanzo also adds 3 Arch cards to your deck, making it much easier for Lily to get an Arch chain despite only having 1 Arch card, further boosting her Noble Phantasm gain potential. However, if you want to use Lily for more challenging battles, then you can go for a Black Grail build. Thanks to her heal, she can survive the burn damage from the Black Grail, and the buff it gives is tremendous considering that she's Noble Phantasm 5. For teammates, you're going to want Nero Bride or Nightingale. Both Bride and Nightingale provide additional buffs to bolster Jolter Lily's damage, but more importantly they provide additional healing which also synergizes with Jolter Lily's Noble Phantasm. Finally, you're also going to want a defensive option to support you. In Jolter Lily's case, Media Lily, Irisfeel, and Jeanne all work great. All 3 provide healing, which is bolstered by Jolter Lily's Noble Phantasm, Media Lily will provide you with the most healing, but she doesn't offer any hard defense, meaning you're going to have to rely on your invincibility to survive enemy noble phantasms. Jeanne will provide less healing than Media Lily, but she's a lot more reliable with her invincibility. And Irisfield is kind of the middle ground between the two, providing decent healing and decent hard defense with guts. Lily's Bondcraft Essence is Door to the Ocean. It increases party healing by 30%, and while this does work with her Noble Phantasm, it isn't a good option in most scenarios. Instead, you're going to want to focus on craft essences that increase your farming potential or craft essences that drastically bolster your damage. For farming, nothing beats Kaleidoscope, but Golden Sumo or Halloween Princess can work too if you're facing tougher targets, while Little Halloween Devil or Magical Girl Sapphire work if you need to Noble Phantasm multiple times. For damage, of course, nothing is going to beat Black Grail. However, Heaven's Feel, Purely Bloom, and Limited Zero can be good alternatives if you don't have it. And for a bit of future-proofing, Cute Orangette and Our Conquest of the Ocean of Stars are good choices. Both of them bolster your NP gain and your NP damage, both of which Jolter Lily really needs. Overall, Jolter Lily does have a solid niche as a farming Lancer. She's pretty tanky, and with the proper setup she can even do some damage. But the scope of her usage is very limited because she has very little utility, poor Noble Phantasm gain, poor single target damage, and almost no versatility outside of farming teams. And that's why she gets a C+ from me. She can definitely get the job done most of the time, but outside of farming, you're going to find much better alternatives to her since she's too heavily reliant on craft essences and teammates when trying to do anything else. And those are my thoughts on Jolter Lily. Good farming Lancers aren't too common, so I am sure a lot of people are going to find good use for her, but don't expect her to be as multi-purpose and powerful as last year's Santa Altar. If you're looking forward to her, make sure you let me know in the comments below, and also check out the event guide and Ishtar spotlights, which are linked on screen right now and in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like and consider subscribing if you really enjoyed the video. Join the party over at our Discord, chill with us on Twitch, and follow us on Twitter. And I'll see you all in the next Servant Spotlight. So we're only out. Later.